So, um, yeah, I actually don't believe losers. That's actually one of the few theories I don't believe is losers queue. I know that was a big thing for a league community for about 10 years,
Yeah.
and they finally like solved it or whatever, or not solved it, but kind of debunked it.
Yeah.
I think this season the reason why we are losing so much, and we are on a eight or three out of eight losing streak. So we lost three, we won 3 games, and then lost 8 games. Um,
Isn't it worse
but
than that? I feel like it's worse than that.
no, I think because the last game we won, that was our third game, I believe.
Okay. I'm gonna go look at my last 20. But go
Yeah,
ahead, keep going.
it's
Keep going.
probably
It's
yeah, it's
pretty
probably
bad. We've had a
yeah.
pretty bad couple weeks.
Maybe it's more or less than that, I think, but yeah, somewhere around there. Um, but I think this season in general, the reason why everything is out of whack, especially the matchmaking, is because of the 3 split structure they have going on right now, and resetting our ranks every 3 months or every 3 to 4 months they reset our ranks.
Mhm.
Whereas before they only reset your rank one time a year, and then I think they tried to do it twice a year, but usually it's only once a year. So say like you have a really bad time at the beginning of the year, you can usually take a break and then come back and then
Mhm.
slowly build yourself back up to where you want to be at or where your goal is or close to your goal. Instead of this time, uh, if you take a break, you're pretty much in the next season and your rank has reset and you're back with the like super sweats and then the
Yeah.
super trolls. So the first month is like super sweats and everyone's like on edge, and then the last month you're dealing with trolls because, or 2 months later you're dealing with trolls, because everyone doesn't care about their rank anymore and they just want to bring everyone down, especially if you're in lower elo. Um,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
people already reaching their max potential already as
Mhm.
far as that. So there people are buying up more Smurfs, and then you get more Smurfs who are Smurfing. So it's like it's a whole economy based on that. If you lose your rank or whatever, if you fuck up an account, I can just buy a new account, a iron account, and then I'm just gonna build off of that one, and I'm gonna keep going, keep going, and keep going, and
Mhm.
it's more frequent. This is probably the worst I've seen the Smurf situation in the last 7 years of me playing League of Legends. I never seen it this bad to where like I was actively complaining about it. I have a Smurf, and I was using that Smurf as a crux to learn another role. So I
Yeah.
used to main jungle, and then I learned mid lane off that Smurf account or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well,
But
we're 5-15 in our last 20.
Jesus Christ, holy shit. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
it's worse than I thought.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
we're
So
having a bad we're having a bad
yeah.
go of it last couple of weeks.
Um
Uh,
yeah, I actually believe Faison on that one, or Foxon rather on that one, is that there is no such thing as losers queue. What I do think they need to do is just get rid of, which they are getting rid of. They're getting rid of the splits. I think the splits were the worst thing ever. League was trying to do that optimize engagement shit, that Apex does and that,
mm,
Fortnite does and everything like that. Unironically, I think, and I've been like following Apex news because I'm like, I just been like, it's not been piquing my interest, but I'm just like, how has it been since I left? I
yeah.
stopped playing it actually last year. I didn't realize that the last time I played it was in uh like August or September of last year. That was the
Yeah.
last time I recorded something for it, on my like when I played my video game stuff or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and like nothing. I mean, I'm about to say right. Respawn like barely acknowledges like, the Smurf situation. They barely acknowledge people are like coping with like, oh, I think the cheating situation is getting better. I just
Yeah.
think people are coping with it at this point. The player count is at the worst it's ever been. I think it's at like it's between 30 and 80,000 players now
Yeah.
concurrently on Steam.
Yeah.
Um and Yeah, like everyone's been complaining about the matchmaking. Like it's just the matchmaking. Like if you want to do solos, you're forced to go into like a queue where like there are 3 stacks, and if you're doing 3 stacks, uh, we're fucking. I think the highest rank we were gold,
Yeah.
right? And I think you got platinum, or maybe Jet got platinum.
No, it wasn't me. No.
It was you.
I
Okay,
don't
yeah,
think I don't think I've ever gotten out of silver since we started
okay,
playing again. Yeah.
yeah. Because I was gold, and yeah, Jet, and Brad were gold, or yeah, and then Jet was platinum. And yeah, it was so bad. Like the matchmaking was so bad that we were getting matched up with Preds constantly. Like there
Mhm.
was always a Pred in our game for no
Yeah.
reason. And even the Predators are like, you know, dude, like I'm streaming up, I'm queuing up, and I see like 60 other streams of like teams queuing up or whatever. Why am I not matched with those people? Why am I getting put in diamond lobbies and master lobbies or whatever the case may be? And that
Mhm.
makes sense. Like, why are they? And then those masters and diamond lobby players are getting put in our queues, and we're playing like last season diamond players or whatever. And it's just like it doesn't make any sense or whatever. Um, and it's like, oh, we go off of MMR. And it's like, I know my MMR is not diamond level. Like, if my MMR is that high, then give me a diamond rank. Give me the diamond spotlight or whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I feel like League of Legends, like ever since they switched over to like an MMR system, because they used to have like a true rank skill system. It was like if you're in that rank, you're fighting other people in that rank. And I think they switched over to MMR too. And I just don't like MMR. Like at this point, I think MMR is just a detriment to the game. Like I just want to play people who are at the ladder that I'm at. I don't want to play people who are at the similar skill as me. Like if I'm better than them, then I should be able to go play better than them and then
Yeah.
go a rank higher. If that makes any sense. I just don't like optimize or matchmaking or MMR or all
Well,
these
it's
fucking
like that
systems
hidden
and shit.
MMR that's the problem, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's what it is. Yeah,
like it shouldn't be trying to figure out how good you are behind the scenes. Like I almost feel like a pure number system would be better, where it's like if I'm bronze 4, I should only be playing against people who are like bronze 3, bronze 4, silver well, sorry. If I'm bronze 1, that is a better example. If I'm bronze 1, I should be playing against people who are bronze 3, silver 1, or bronze 4. It's like I shouldn't
correct.
really like go outside of that, and maybe you stretch it a little bit if matchmaking times are long. But I feel like the way the game works now is there's this hidden MMR where they're trying to figure out how good you are, and sometimes they think you're better than your rank is, so you end up matching against people in like fucking diamond or something for some fucking reason, or gold even, when you're bronze 1. It's like, dude, I'm not that good at the fucking game. Why am I playing against these people,
Yeah,
and if I
it's
am
like
that good, I just let me win matches until I get to the point where I'm not, like I'm
exactly.
I don't know.
It's
It's like I will naturally hit a plateau at some point where I will hit my skill peak. And maybe they've determined that's less fun for people, but frankly, I'm going to be honest, like we have made fun out of the last 2 sessions we've had, but man, they have, like gameplay wise, they have been bad.
yeah,
Like
like
it's
so.
just been rough, bro. Like
I've
Jesus.
especially noticed it this season.
Yeah.
And like people can like say like, oh, maybe you're just getting older, like maybe the community is getting better. But like when I started, I was terrible when I started 7 years ago. I was fucking terrible. And then like 4 years ago, 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 years ago, I got better. But the game like rewarded me for actually studying and like learning the game or whatever, right? And I feel like I actually got better. I did get better. I climbed to like gold one, and like I actually felt myself getting better. I actually knew like when I was in these other ranks and stuff like that, like, oh, okay, I see why I'm doing this bad or whatever. Or I like in bronze and gold and stuff like that, or bronze and silver rather. Um, when I was in those ranks, I was just like, yeah, I can see why these people are bad. They're not looking at their mini maps, and I would take full advantage of that, right? And it's like now maybe all those players are in iron, and now I'm playing with like the people who thought they were platinum, but then or thought they were gold and silver,
Yeah.
and
I
then
think
now we
that's
have
true.
the emerald tier as well.
Yeah.
So we got
Yeah.
these two tiers in there that are like deviating the thing or whatever, and it's like I don't know because silver is super hard now. Like silver has never been this fucking hard. Bronze has never been this, and I would say it like I don't mean to offend anybody. Brian's never been this fucking retarded in my life. I've never played like in all my years of playing League of Legends. I have never known bronze players to be this fucking bad. Like it is,
Yeah.
it is actually like it seems like it's a disease going around. Like for
Yeah.
real, because
Yeah.
the last couple of sessions we played literally made no sense. Like I watched those things, and yeah, I fully admit we were making some horrible plays, especially me. I was making some fucking horrible plays. But
No,
then
we
towards
both
the
were. I know for a fact I wasn't playing well in every game either. Like it's, I
yeah,
mean,
but towards
yeah.
the end of the thing, we kind of tightened it up after the laning phase. We definitely tightened it up, and we
No,
were trying
I think laning was what we were struggling with. Actually, it was weird. Because we recovered even the games where we got beat in lane phase. We actually recovered for the most part
exactly.
later in the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and and then even when I would try to go out help other lanes, I would ping, and they would not pay attention to the map. They would just be
Yeah.
focused farming, and it was just a lot of times it was blatant. Then obviously, like yesterday, we were playing with a Smurf Shaco who was just
Oh my
taking fucking
god.
kills.
Our one win of the day. We lose 5 games in a row. Me and Montrell were so mad, and you're like, man, we can't go out on a loss like that, like on this losing streak. So we play one more, and dude, we get the most Smurfity Shaco fucking loser imaginable. Where this dude, literally in the middle of fights, is going into deceive and hiding. Like he was fighting, he was attacking people, and then he runs away, hides, and waits until they're in kill range, and then he deceives back in and gets the kill and like shivs or whatever to like guarantee the kill. That's all he was doing. Like there was one that was hilarious where you were playing
Morgana.
Morgana, and yeah, you were doing a gank mid, and you were fighting the person, and they were just running away because you and Shaco were there, and they were like, "Dude, I'm dead." Like they weren't trying to do anything, they weren't trying to
Mhm.
attack or anything, and Shaco wasn't hitting them. He's just waiting for you to get them low enough where he could one shot them, and take the kill. It was fucking crazy, dude. I'm like, holy shit, man! Like I've never seen it that blatant, like where it's just a kill stealing, like kill hungry player. Like they're not trying to play the game. They're not doing objectives. Like the dude wasn't doing objectives either. He wasn't really trying to take dragon. It just so happened to take one, I think, because a fight happened there.
Yeah.
And then later in the game, he got a penta, which the enemy team surrendered off of, which I thought was hilarious because, like, I actually thought they could win the game if they stuck around because the rest of us were doing horrible. It was just a Shaco. And this guy had no interest in playing the game, other than running around and getting kills. So it just was, I don't know. It was a weird night. It was a weird night. We made the best of it. I had fun. Like I don't regret playing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I still
But
had fun, but like, yeah,
but
it was.
yeah, man, it just was like I don't know. It was a bad end to a bad night. Where the one win we get is because some fucking Smurf like comes in our game and he's not even playing properly. It just seemed like such a scuffed game.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It's I don't know what like. I mean, I agree with the idea that like we were not playing great. We were both missing abilities. We weren't really in sync sometimes. Like
Yeah.
so I don't think it was like totally our teammates' fault, but there was a couple games, man. Which one was it, man? Our
Bro,
other three teammates were just completely brain dead,
I
dude.
think it was like the
Like
Mundo who
it
was
was the
like
Mundo, yeah, the one. Yeah, you're right. Mundo, wasn't it Mundo, Victor, and like fuck, who was the jungler? Was it Kindred? Was that the Kindred one? Um,
maybe maybe it
and
was Kendrick, yeah.
dude, like, oh my god, they were so brain dead. They literally weren't paying attention to their map at all. They weren't trying to do anything as a team. Like they were just like, I don't know. The Victor was like running away all the time. He would never actually commit to a fight. It was crazy, man. I don't know. It's
Yeah, because I was Leona and I was like I was frontlining and I can live for a while. And sometime Mundo would join me in it. But Victor, he was like our major damage dealer because I don't think you had your third item at that point. You were still building your
Was that the
items.
Ez
Yeah,
game?
that was the S game.
Yeah.
So
Um.
like,
Yeah.
and it was one fight in particular. We were in the Baron pit, and I was still fighting, and I died. And then Mundo was fighting for at least 30 to 45 seconds by himself, and he
Yep.
had everybody low. Victor walked away and was just backing for no reason. He had 4 health, and he had at
Yeah.
least 60% of his mana. And I was like, why is he not doing anything? Oh, but the worst game was when I swapped roles with somebody because they're like, I don't jungle. To me, that was my work. That was like the game that broke me. I was Kindred, and
The
I
enemy
was.
team had a no smite,
They
dude. It
had
was so
no smite.
rough.
I got every objective.
Yeah.
They had no smite on the other enemy team, like Justin said, and then they had a Vayne top of going against Ardarius. Ardarius was so bitch made, so scared of this Vayne, bro. It was I came up there to gank for him like several times already. All he had to do was freeze on the tower, freeze the wave on the tower. He wouldn't do that. There was one instance where he was fighting the Vayne and Anivia was coming up to gank to help the Vayne out. So I intercepted the gank and I was fighting the Anivia and the Vayne by myself. The fucking Darius literally running back and forth between targets, not autoing anybody, by the way, just doing it. Then he did the same thing on the bot lane when like laning phase end. We were all down there, and he's literally just running back and forth, ping ponging between two targets, not hitting anybody, then just ran away, and then came back and then fed. I was like, "What the fuck is going on with this Darius?" Like, it was such a bad game. Like,
Yeah.
that was a bad night for sure. I don't know what the fuck was going on. I don't know.
No,
If
and
it was
like, dude, your Nautilus hooks
oh
it was
my
like
god,
comical, dude. They weren't hitting anybody, and it was like it felt like the game was out to get you, like because they were so close to people. It's crazy. Like they were hooks that have hit before. I've seen those kind of hooks hit. You know, it just feels like the game's like not consistent with that kind of stuff for some reason. And then it happened with Morgana too. That Morgana game where you shot the bind and like, dude, I'm like, that thing is a wide ass hitbox, way wider than the ability looks like it has.
yeah.
And like somebody it like went past somebody. I'm like, bro, that's a hit every time. I'm like, what are you talking about, man? Oh my god. So, you know, it
It was
just
happening with Lux too. Remember the
oh my
Nami? I
oh my
literally I got
god.
that Nami, bro. I looked at the replay and I was like, I got this Nami. I
Yeah.
was so sure that I rooted her that I shot my ult afterwards, and it
And
was
you
like,
still
nope.
hit her with the ult, by the
Yeah, I
way.
still hit her with the ult.
But it was like it was just really frustrating because she would have been dead. I think I was there, and I was like I would have just auto attacked her to death. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
After that, it's just like, and man, it I don't know. It was a
And
bad night.
you were carrying that game too.
Yeah.
That was a really good bars game for you because the Misfortune was scared to fucking fight you.
Oh
It was
yeah, she was terrified, bro.
yeah, the Misfortune was fucking terrified of you. It was just our set fucking tunnel
Yeah,
vision
he was.
on.
Yeah,
He
he was
was
inting. He just started inting at a certain point.
it was
Yeah,
so bad,
I
man.
remember. Like that was him. The Darius did the same thing. Like they both just started inting because they got smashed so hard top lane. You know.
And Darius is
And
only like before he started inting, he was only like 1-3. All he had to do was
Mhm.
just stay in lane. I was just like, dude, like
yeah, Set took a little longer. I think he was like 1-7. Then he started really
yeah,
blatantly doing it. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, it was frustrating because I was having a good game. I feel like if we had just stayed even keel and like played the game out, we would have probably won.
Yeah, you
You
could
know,
because you out damaged Nasus.
I dude, I was I think
had
I was at 4 items at the end of the game. You know, and
yeah.
that was what the game wasn't even 25 minutes at that point. Probably like it was a quick one. Like I had a lot of gold. So
We all
um,
had CC, so we could have stopped the
yeah,
Nasus from getting on top of you. Like we had a solid team. It was
mhm,
just everyone's mental was just our
shot.
mental was fucked. Everyone
Yeah,
else's mental was fucked, and I was just
yeah.
like, I don't know, man. Like yesterday was like a pretty bad game, and it's like I was like, even after all that, I was just like, I can still play some more, but I have to go to fucking bed. I was
I
just
mean, I do want to play right now. It's funny. I'm like thinking about playing, but I'm like, dude, I wish we could get 5 again, though. I know we don't want to play flex, which is fine, but you know, I feel playing with everyone in Discord just feels so much better than playing with the randos, man. Like, it's just, you know, it's even if one of us is having a bad game, like we don't let that ruin the whole game for the rest of us. You know,
well, some
it's
of us do, but
but not usually, you know.
yeah.
Um, so it's like we can recover from that. Like we can help bring that person back or something, you know, sometimes. So
Well, I just think
um
I think League of Legends in general, the community just I don't think the community was already good, but I think by them optimizing for engagement by doing the 3 splits, it made everyone else inherently toxic. And it's really bad this season. Like I normally never type in chat. Like this is the first season I
yeah.
was actively typing in chat.
Yeah.
And I was just like, because I was just so mad at people. I'm just like, why are y'all being so fucking stupid? And it's just
Yeah.
like, I don't know. Like it's I think the I don't even think it's the community the fault this time. Like, yeah, we like for of course you need to take responsibility for our mental is just a fucking game or whatever, right? But the company is just as responsible for the way the state of this game is because um I just think I think Riot I understand game developers and I understand that um actually I think gaming is the only place where you cannot say the consumer is always right. Like cuz the
Mm,
developers never treat us like we're the consumer and they treat us
yeah,
like shit, you know?
yeah, yeah.
In my opinion. And but then, I don't know. Then you turn around, and then the player base sometimes treat the developers like shit. I think like I look at like the Helldivers community, right? I think they're like one of the best communities to be a part of, but I feel like the
Mm,
community treats them like shit, and it's because like, and I think it's mainly because of like YouTubers like
yeah.
who are at the helm of the communities. They want like clickbait and engagement and all this shit, so they like drum up controversy or whatever. So that's like a whole other conversation. But give like for Riot like there are like pro players, there are like high level players actively talking about like that Tom Kench clip. I don't know if I sent you that with the Jinx. I'm gonna
You
send you
did.
after.
You
I
did.
did. Okay, yeah.
Oh
There are
wait, Tom
people.
Kent's. No, 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 no,
No,
no, no.
yeah. So
Zach
it's a
one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was the
yeah. No,
Zach one.
so it's another one that's like really going around. The Jinx played the game perfectly, and and like it was even better than the Tristana. Like this
Mm,
Jinx played this game really good.
mm-hmm.
And she dodged every skill shot. She ended up winning the fight, by the way. But the problem was she only won the fight because of because Soraka came in and bailed her out at the last minute.
Yeah.
And she was going against like a fucking 2 item fucking Tom
Tom
Kench.
Kench. Yeah.
Yeah, 2 item Tom Kench. She had three items, 3.5 items. She was 2 levels ahead of him and everything of that nature. And yeah, bro, like he just would not die. And he was doing a lot of damage. She dies every skill shot and everything of that nature. And yeah, what can you do
Mm-hmm.
against it or whatever. And what it was one of these YouTubers I watch, his name's Nemesis, because he used to be a pro player, and he was talking about how the clip was on Twitter or anything anything everything of that nature, and people in the comments were like coping. And he made such a good point. I hate like the cope that people do for this game. Like they're like, oh well, Jinx didn't dodge this one skill shot. Like an ADC
Oh my
person has to
god.
play perfectly.
Yeah,
It's
bro.
like, well, why was the guy in kill range of the fucking Tom Kench? Oh, I'm sorry, Tom Kench practically has a fucking teleport.
Yeah,
I mean, we can.
what do you mean? Like, dude, okay, no character. There's no ADC that has a long enough range that they can avoid his like tongue shot thing, at range. That thing is longer than a normal auto range. And then same thing, and like you just said, he has the dive where he goes underground or underwater, whatever you want to fucking call it, and then he pops up. That shit goes off half a screen. It's completely out of control. So yeah, as an ADC, like Tom Kench is a fucking nightmare, and for Jinx, she doesn't have movement until she gets a kill. So it's like there's not like if it's just a 1v1, the two of them, I would give the advantage to Tom Kench every time, for the most part. Because even if she throws her traps down, he can just dive under them and get past it and go on the other side of Jinx. And then like Jinx is just fucked at that point. Like once you're in melee with him, you're done, as an ADC. So it's just I don't know. Like, I feel like people act like I know the game is built around skill shots, and that's kind of the way the game is now. But it's not possible to dodge every skill shot in every situation as every character. It's like there are some characters that they have slow movement speed or they have a larger hitbox. And it's like they don't necessarily, or depending on the angle, if the person shoots it right, it's impossible to dodge. It's like so that happens too. It's like it's not always a skill issue every single time. Sometimes these abilities shouldn't be so punishing when they do hit that you just auto die, Like those lanes bottom that happen sometimes where it's like Lux and like someone else who can do a bind, and it's like if you get bound by either one of them, you're fucking dead, and it's like that's not a fun That's not fun. That's not a fun situation. I don't like that kind of design because it
Mhm.
means you have to play perfectly. You have to dodge everything. You can never get hit by any fucking skill shot by either of the players in the lane. And that is so hard to do. Like, even pros would probably struggle with that, of
Yeah.
people at equal skill level. So you can imagine as low elo players, it's very hard to do that, for the most part. So I don't know. I feel like people too much they're like, oh, it's a skill issue, it's a skill. It's like, bro, as a player against going up against somebody like Tom Kench, I shouldn't have to dodge every single thing he does in order to win the fight.
Well,
If I get
I
hit by a
want you.
single thing, I lose. It's like, that's stupid. That makes no sense.
So I want you to look at the clip real quick,
Yeah.
and I put it in the chat on Zencaster. Um, but yeah, so the Jinx she actually gets the kill off the tower, right? So she
Two and a
gets her
half.
she gets her passive off the passive. Or I mean off the tower. So
Bro.
she's already in full speed mode. She has Runins, she has LDR, she has fucking Kraken Slayer and Berserker boots. So she,
Oh my god, this is horrifying. No joke. 3.5 items against a 0-8 Tom Kench with 2 items. And she's gonna die. Like, oh my god, that's crazy, dude. Wow. And she dodges everything too for the most part. But it's like, you can't dodge the eat ability, where he like eats you. There's
yeah,
no
the auto
dodging
attack.
that. So
So people in the comments are like, "Well, why did she have Runins?" And pro players are like, "Bro, if she had Bork, Bork is bad on Jinx. If she
yeah.
had Bork, it only would have been doing the extra 30 damage. Like people did the calculations."
Yeah.
And then someone else on Reddit, because I can't find the Reddit thread, but someone else on Reddit was like, they did the calculations as well, and they're like, "Oh, she had 6,000 more gold than him at that point, 2 levels up, 6,000 more gold than him." And then someone
Yeah.
else is like, "Well, why was she in his auto attack range? Did we not see that he did his little fucking teleport move?"
Yeah, at the very beginning.
Like,
He dodges every tongue shot, like every one. He does it like 4 times, I think, or 3 times, and he dodges all of them. Like, even at point blank range. So, dude, and he gets thrown into a tower. Like, he takes a tower shot, not because of any issue of his own. It's because he eats him and throws him out next to a tower. It's so ridiculous.
and it's like, so at what point do we stop looking? I don't like, bro, I'm sorry. I am tired of statistics, bro. Sometimes, yes, you can go by statistic stuff. Like, well, statistically, this is not right. I don't care if statistically speaking, the juggernauts, excuse me, in the fucking bruisers are not dominating the fucking thing or whatever. Bro, it feels horrible when you're going against a 0-3 Orin, bro, and he just throws out his little fucking goat and then hits you, brittles you with this little fire thing, and then hits you with his hammer, and you're fucking dead. It feels horrible going against a 0-3 Mundo. He throws a cleaver at you, and like 3/4 of your health is gone. You're like, bro, what just happened? It feels terrible going against a Zac who has no attack items. He has spirit vestige, like fucking abysmal mask or something, or whatever the case may be, bro. And
Yeah.
he just jumps on you and does a bazillion damage. You're just like, and then he's healing the entire time while he's fighting you. And you're just like, bro, what am I supposed to do as an ADC? Like,
Yeah.
how am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to deal with this? And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I know ADCs. I tease ADCs all the fucking time. I do, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like, what are they supposed to do? Like, it's so bad now when people are just playing mages again back in the bot lane now,
Yeah.
because it just feels so bad to be an ADC. Like, there's no damage at all. I don't understand why they took the passive off LDR.
Yeah.
Why did they remove Giant Slayer? Like,
Yeah.
I
No, I
don't
mean,
get it.
that was one of our big for crit. That's the tank buster item. And now for Lord Dominic's, the item is whatever, dude. Like, you buy it because you need an armor pen item, but you only buy it if there aren't people who heal in the game. So you just take Mortal Reminder instead, and you barely lose anything for taking it.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's
uh,
really. I just think, and people are making other points too. Like the assassins are in a really bad spot because I mean, if I play Zed or anybody like that, like, um, they have to be really ahead. Like the Zed was obviously picking on you, but it's just like they have to be really ahead to actually get to that point where they can start picking on people.
yeah.
I don't know, man.
No,
I just think,
I think the Zed. So the Zed, there was a game. I don't know. Last time we played, maybe I think that
Yeah, it was
this
just it
like
was
session.
last night. It was
No,
last
no,
night.
no, the one on the weekend where
Okay.
there was a Zed targeting me as Jin, and he was killing me every time. No shot. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't get away from him. He would kill me in like 2 seconds flat, dude. You know.
Mhm.
I think that Zed was either A, really far ahead, or just good. Like he knew how to
Mhm.
play Zed. The one from yesterday was not good. Like he was not killing me. Like he killed me a
Okay.
couple times. But he was fucking his combos up. He wasn't hitting stuff or because when he would use his death mark, it wasn't hitting, it was not killing me. Like that
Okay.
was what
Yeah.
was happening on Friday last week. So the one yesterday, I think it comes down to skill there, and probably there was some kind of gold lead the guy had. Like Zed probably gets to a point where he just murders ADCs. You know, it's
Yeah.
like, and that's the point he was at, unfortunately. And I just like I could not go near him. You know, as a result. But there's like nothing I could do as Jin in that situation. Other than maybe I needed to build a tank item that game, I guess maybe like some kind of armor item or something, or armor
Yeah.
HP, which you, by the way, almost never do as Jin, you know. So it's like, I mean, maybe I should be more in tune with doing that sometimes on certain characters. I do it with Varus because he actually absolutely needs some kind of defensive item because he's just so slow, you know, and he has no movement tech at all. So it's like you kind of need to be able to stand and fight as him. And honestly, he really only needs 3 items to be able to murder people with on hit. Like once you have your third item, you get the terminus. Like, dude, it's over. Like I'm able to kill anybody at any time, pretty much for the rest of the game. I don't even need a fifth damage item, like the fourth damage item in my fifth slot, to going full build for me to be able to kill people. Like it's so. It's not true for a lot of ADCs though. Like Vayne, for instance, like she needs a defensive item too. She usually goes like Jock Show or something, depending on the game. You might go like what's the saber, that like purple saber that gives you like attack speed and magic resist? I forget the name of it.
What's in? What's
Yeah,
in?
yeah, yeah. Wits End. You might go that if the enemy team is heavy on AP, potentially. But that doesn't usually happen too much. So it's usually Jock Show for getting both. But yeah, it's just I don't know. Like having what was it, Gale Force was the name of the fucking item, the one that let
Yeah.
you dash or whatever, the
Yeah.
mythic that let you dash. Like I don't miss that item because other classes could abuse it, ones that like fucking Yasuo could use it and get another dash. It's like um you know but I didn't mind the item for ADCs because at least it gave us some mobility, more than we have, generally speaking. So um yeah, I don't know. It's just frustrating. It just feels like League's in a weird spot right now. I think they're unwinding. They seem to be unwinding the last like 4 years of patches, basically, is what it feels like they're doing. Because they just keep taking damage out of the game. Like, dude, on 15.1, the first patch for next year, they said they're lowering AD by like 10% again.
Why?
They're just continuing to take damage out of the game, and people think they're gonna unwind the durability patch soon. Like they're gonna like unwind all the armor and MR everybody has, and HP potentially as well. So I'm like, it 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 seems like wherever they were going, the like arms race of damage that they were kind of heading, that they had been at for a very long time, they're just kind of like trying to slowly creep it back towards being a little bit less twitchy and crazy, where you're killing people in like 2 shots.
Which I don't
Um,
mind, right? I don't mind that.
yeah,
But my thing is make it comparable to where Nasus doesn't feel like a fucking raid boss at 20 minutes into the game.
yeah,
Or
right,
not even Nasus. Because I would say like you have to get kind of far ahead to get Nasus that big, right? So I would say someone like Zach and Tom Kench, like those two are like problem childs. And I
hmm,
think they need to be dealt with. I actually don't like when armor or not, I'm sorry, not armor, but attack is scaled off HP. I think that's the biggest bullshit ever. And that's what Zach does. He gets the more HP he has, him and Mokai, the more HP they have, the more damage they do. And I
yeah,
just think I understand the logic behind it, but it's like I don't know, the damage numbers are off whack or something, bro. Like they
Yeah.
have to do something about it. And someone else made a good point. It was like, well, maybe it's not the damage that they're doing; it's the simple fact that they have mobility. They're tanky, they have CC, and they're just mobile as fuck. They can get on top of you like really fast. And I
Mhm.
think maybe that is the bigger thing. Maybe like those characters I just mentioned, they all have ways to just jump on you. Tom Kinch literally has a underground teleport. Zach can just jump on you from 2 screens away. Um, I mean, Mundo, he can use Ghost every 4 to 5 minutes to just chase you down. Garen has a built-in attack steroid, attack speed steroid, and a movement speed steroid. And it's just like, I mean, maybe we should like limit some of this shit. Like, make it more skill expressive. I don't
Yeah.
think they should be that unstoppable. They just do way too much damage or whatever. Or if you want to leave them the same, do that. But give us more tools as late game. If you don't want LDR to be as a you don't want it as a third item spike or whatever, or a fourth or a second item spike, make it more expensive. Make it 3,600 so it can be a fourth item
Mhm.
spike,
Yeah.
or something like that. But still give it its giant slayer passive back. Or do the same thing with Bork. Or do the same thing with like what was the other item they had? Was another one. Oh, Kraken Slayer. Like Kraken Slayer was usually was a first buy for people, and then you automatically became an unkillable god. And it's like make some of these things are meant to kill tanks. Tanks don't become big until 20 minutes, 25 minutes to the game, and then they're unkillable. So
Yeah.
make it to where we can compromise that and we can start killing them or whatever. So I mean, it's just and then they reworked some of the runes. Like it was another rune called, it wasn't called Giant Slayer. It was called it wasn't a fucking precision tree where it pretty much gives you a percentage based off the enemy's health or whatever. And they reworked that as well.
Oh, I forget what it was.
Yeah, I forgot what the fuck it was called, but they
Mhm.
reworked it and they nerfed it pretty much. And yeah, I mean, like they did all these little nerfs that make the game where it's at. Everyone hates the tank patch. Like I remember, like the true tank patch, and like I think it was like
Oh, yeah.
season 12 or something.
It
No, it
was
wasn't
2
season.
years ago. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
awful, dude, with
yeah,
Heartsteel. Everybody was building Heartsteel all the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Like, oh my
And then there
god.
was another one in like season 9. It was a tank patch as well, and yeah, it was just they actually changed the thing on the league subreddit to like League of Tanks or whatever the case may be, and it was that's how bad it was, and it was
Yeah.
like League of Heartsteel. I remember that or whatever. So I understand like you don't want the game, you got to change the game up. You don't want it to be, boring or stale or whatever. But I actually did see someone make the same point that you made. They're like, man, at this point, can we just get two different games, one for the pro and then one for the
Yeah.
casual fan base? Because
Yeah.
I just don't think it's sustainable. Which I don't. I
No.
agree. I don't think it's sustainable
I
anymore.
don't either. I don't either. I mean, I don't know. I mean, just to end this conversation, this is the typical. This is how people are online, though. This guy's like clearly good at this game, and this is somebody. This is the comment somebody made on this was maybe try kiting instead of standing in his melee rage with Jinx reset. Just the thought. It's like, bro, who do you think you are, man? Like, what are you, bronze? And you're like telling this guy how to play? Like, what? Who are these people? Like, shut up, man. God, it's just, I don't know. People are fucking wild, bro. Like,
Yeah, somebody said, to be fair, just as people already pointed out on Twitter, if you just kite properly, this would never been closed. Doesn't make Tom Kench, but he said it doesn't make Tom Kench as a champ more disgusting. But yeah, and it's like, what are we talking about? And then someone put right
he
under
is
there,
kiting the whole
yeah,
time. He
someone
isn't
said
standing still.
he
Like,
dodged every ability. He kited perfectly. If you want him to space better, sure, but he could use rockets or leave some AAs or auto attacks or whatever. But yeah, he has 3 items. He has 3.5 items, and he's 2 levels up. He should have won that fight, like
yeah,
regardless of or whatever the case may be.
right.
Like it's that's what it's called. It's called cut down. That rune I'm thinking about. They
Oh,
they
yeah.
they nerfed that. They nerfed cut down. But yeah, like I mean, this clip, and then the one we saw with Tristana is like a prime example of like I think what's wrong with ADCs and like maybe bruisers or tanks or juggernauts, whatever the fuck you want to call them. It's just I don't. I feel like the community is like you said, for ADCs in particular. Or
Mhm.
this is my problem, and this is why I don't go to like Reddit for critiquing or anything like that, or even like sometimes even coaching, because it's like, well, you could have did this, you could have did that, and it's like, bro, I'm a fucking human being, bro. Like, I'm going to make a mistake. I can learn from that mistake, yeah, and I did learn from that mistake, but I can't play 100% all the time or whatever. And it's just that's just the reality of the situation or whatever. If I was, I would be a pro player. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
right. Yeah.
So
Well,
it's just yeah.
not to bring up Dota all the time, but I will say this is where the difference in design philosophy frustrates me with the league sometimes is because in Dota, carries are actually carries. They're not. That's not true in league. We call it an ADC, but they're not really a carry. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, People think that like at the end of the game, they're like obviously they do a lot of damage when they're full build, but everybody does a lot of damage when they're full build, bro. It's like that's league. Like mages do just as much damage as ADCs, tanks do just as much damage as ADCs. Bruisers do as much damage as ADCs. Some supports do as much damage as ADCs late game. So it's just I don't think like this is I don't know. I almost feel like we need to like refer to it differently, like just call them marksmen because they're not really carries to me in the true sense of the word. Because in Dota, a carry in Dota, like a position one carry, straight up safe lane carry, dude, when you get to the end of the game, they're unkillable. They do more damage than anybody. Like it takes an absolute Herculean effort to actually kill them because you let them get to the end of the game. You know, like if you let them get full build and get to the point where they have more gold than anybody in the game and they're max level and you're super late game Dota, like hour 20 minutes into the game. Yeah, all those things I just said are true because you let it to get to an hour and 20 minutes. You should lose. You know, it's like so that's the issue I have with League is like I feel like they're trying to keep the game balanced all the time. They want it to be they want it to still feel balanced late game when it's like, bro, it really should. If you want to call them carries, they should be unstoppable if they get to the point where they're max build, you know? Like that should just be the way it works, I feel like. But I don't know. Like it's a different game, different design philosophy, and maybe not everybody would agree with me there, but I don't think it makes sense that a character that's supposed to be quote unquote a tank should be doing as much damage as burst mages and ADCs. Like it just I don't know. Because yeah, in that clip, I mean, dude, you're looking at her autos, and it's like she's tickling him with every auto. Like it's not like she's doing a whole lot of damage, you know? She's doing like 100 to 175 per auto, and he's got like 4,000 hit points. You know, it's like that's like 25 autos before you kill him. You know, it's like that's insane how much you need to actually like hit him to get the kill. So I don't know. All right, we've been talking about a league for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Let's get into the show, Montrell. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Players Take. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, Montrell Rice. This is episode 301. And this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right, Montreal, enough league talk. Let's get into what else we've been playing. I'll go first since we've covered half my games already. The other half is Metaphor. I've been playing more Metaphor, and man, I'm like I'm on a roller coaster with this game. I feel like right now. So over the weekend, I got to what I would call the fifth area of the game, fifth like major area, and my opinion of the narrative was starting to dip at that point. So I would say the fourth area is like easily the weakest part of the game. Like it's not even fucking close. Like it's definitely worse than every other area I've been to so far. It's worse narratively and it's worse content wise. Not sure what happened there. Whatever, they were going for a vibe. Maybe it didn't quite hit with me. Whatever. There were some plot holes that formed in this part of the story too. They're not major things, but you know, if you actually beat this game and we talk spoilers, I'll get into the things that happen. They're minor things. They're things you can generally overlook, but they were notable for a game that hadn't done that up to this point. I felt like, And then I get to the 5th area, and dude, when I tell you there's like, oh holy shit, I feel like there's 15 hours or 20 hours of just like exposition, it feels like, in a row, and there are breaks in there where you get to play the game, again, and there is a chunk of time in there where you get like a few days in a row to kind of do some things, do some activities. But for the most part, it's like cutscene after cutscene after cutscene, boss fight, cutscene, boss fight, cutscene, boss fight. And it's like a fucking gauntlet of that for like 15 or 20 hours in a row. And while I would say that should sound hype, like I think the game overdoes it actually in this point. Like I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to get into specifics, but there were some things that happened at the beginning. When I texted you and DJ, there was a specific point that I ended at that night, like the night before, where things hadn't played out quite yet. And I was like, man, if this is how this game ends, like if this is the direction it's going to go for the rest of the game, this is really disappointing. It ended up recovering that next evening for me.
Okay.
Things kind of like the next set of story beats happened and kind of recovered for me, which I can get into that eventually when we get into spoilers at some point. But the after that though, there was just more and more reveals, boss fight, reveals, and it's like I kind of think the game goes crazy. Like it's like trying to reveal like 18 different plot points is in as short of a time frame as humanly possible. And I do think the narrative suffers for it a little bit. It's too much, dude. It's like too much information to process, I'm
Mm.
still now sitting here like kind of being somewhat removed. I'm actually not even removed from it. I'm still in it right now. I haven't even gotten out of this narrative part I'm talking about, by the way. Like I'm still kind of in it right now. I think I'm at the very end of it, but I'm still in it, and I'm still trying to process things that happened like 10 hours ago, and I just think there were too many things that happened quickly in sequence. And when you look at them individually, I don't think any of them are necessarily bad the way they play out. There might be some things you can say that are negative that like the narrative doesn't do a good job with, I would say, but I think it's just the sheer volume of things that happens is they just tried to shove too many things into too short of a time frame and ended up making it really dense. And it feels like you're in a 20-hour climax, a narrative climax with the game, and it's just like I'm like, this is too long. This is happening over the course of a fucking week, bro. For me in real time, and but ultimately, like I'm sitting here now, and it's like, okay, I think the narrative is good though. Like I still like the game. I still think the game is great. I just don't remember. I'm trying to remember Persona 5. I don't feel like Persona 5 played out like this necessarily, in this way. I feel like every arc had its narrative exposition kind of climax where it would reveal something big at the end of it. But I don't remember there being a point in that game where you're kind of just like running around for 20 hours and it's just like story cutscene, and you're not playing the game at all, really. Like it's just like, I don't know. That's why I want you to get back on this game and play it. And I want to know if you feel the same way I do about this section. Because I just like, I don't know, it feels insane, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's good. Certainly. I'm starting to question though, like how many people actually beat the game, I feel like people played the first 3 zones and the game is really strong in those first 3 zones, and then maybe they didn't quite continue after that, because it's like I don't feel like I've heard much criticism of this game's narrative at this point. And I'm not saying everybody has to agree with the way I feel about this, but
Hmm.
it's just one of those things that just feels there are some issues with it that I think are not some subjective thing that I'm making up, that it's just me. Like, so I don't know. We'll see. I'll see what you think whenever you do get back to this and play through it some more.
Okay.
Um, I will say too, I am definitely getting to a point with the combat where I'm just like, man, I'm skipping animations and shit. Like I'm, I'm like, I just want to get. I'm like kind of at the point where I just want to get this fucking game done.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a sign of a game being too long. I think my clock is like 5 hours or something now. And I think I still have 15 or 20 hours to go, and I'm like, fuck, man. That's so much. That just feels like so much that's still left. So, but yeah, there's no shot I'm platinuming this game either. I was thinking about it, but I'm kind of done at this point. I just want to get to the end of the game and beat it. So, but going back to something I said, I think a couple weeks ago though, or maybe even 3 weeks ago when I first started playing this game, my opinion has kind of changed. I don't necessarily think this game's better than Persona. I think I said that when I first started playing it, and I think Persona 5 is. I think I would still say it's the better game. This game definitely has obviously that like it's more unique within Atlas's catalog. It's a fantasy universe versus the real world like high school stuff. But I do think overall that Persona 5 I think has better systems in place. The social link system is a little better in those games. And I just think there's a little more thought that goes into kind of the activities you can do outside of combat. The things you schedule yourself to do during the day. Or whatever. I think it's a little bit better in Persona 5. I think in this game you end up just what you really end up doing, honestly, and this is where this game becomes too much. Even in those sections where you do get to do what you want, you end up just like, dude, you're just doing like social links every day, like for like 8 days in a row. you know, like during the day, during the afternoon, and the evening, you're just doing social links, and it's just like cutscene, 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 cutscene. It's like, and there's like no break in that gameplay, and it's like
Yeah.
you can choose to go to a dungeon, which but the way these games tend to work, it's usually better to do that stuff early. You do the dungeons early, and that's what I tend to do. So my gameplay gets bunched up where it's like I'm like doing dungeons for 3 days in a row, and I'm spending like 5 hours doing dungeons, and then the next like 8 to 12 days I'm doing just like Bond cutscenes, where it's like 5 hours of Bond cutscenes in a row, and it's just like the pacing it doesn't feel great when you pace it like that. And I would recommend people maybe space this stuff out a little bit differently than I did. Don't play the game necessarily like that. Don't min max. Don't follow a guide. Like I think you would get frustrated with this game if you end up playing it like that. It's just you're gonna end up doing the same activity for hours and hours at a time, and by the end of it, you're just like, I never want to fight another fucking battle again in this game, and I never want to do another Bond cutscene for the rest of the fucking game, but you definitely will. You absolutely will do one. So it's an interesting game. Is it a game of the year contender? I think it is, but I do think that is truly going to be subjective. I don't think it's as ubiquitous or unanimous or should be as unanimous as like Persona 5 Royal was, or Persona 5 was. So yeah. Outside of that, that's all I've been playing though. What about you, Montrell?
Actually, all I've been playing this week was League. This has been a very tiring week for me.
Yeah.
So I've been working out I started working out like consistently in July.
Mm-hmm.
So the first 3 months I was doing like a light workout. So what is it? It's December now. So July. So yeah, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So October I was working out. November, promised myself after I got back from my trip that I would enter like I don't want to say powerlifting or bodybuilding phase.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to do, but I am trying to gain more weight and bulk up and stuff like that. So I'm lifting heavier and everything like that nature. So I actually started that process this week. This last week and this week, or end of last week this week.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm also trying to so that I won't get stiff. I'm trying to do more hikes and do yoga and stuff like that as well. I'm also going to probably take up rock climbing on the weekend, because I don't want to be like a. It's gonna sound really dumb, but this is what I want. I mean, I got a couple more years left before before everybody's body starts to like get that old looking mentality. So you got till
Yeah.
I think men have to like 45, 50. I'm
Yeah.
already 36, or I'm about to be 36 in February.
Mm-hmm.
So I really my whole goal was to get that uh like either that Vegeta body type or maybe like early Goku
Yeah.
body type or maybe
Yeah.
even uh One Punch Man Saitama body type because I really like his body type as well. I don't
Mhm.
really want the bulky like fucking so that's why I'm like, trying to be active and stuff
Uh,
like that.
like Advanced Saiyan Trunks or whatever.
Yeah, I don't want advanced Saiyan trunks bulky.
Yeah.
Um, but I do want to have like really defined muscles and stuff like that. So I am bulking up a little bit. I like I said, I just
Or
started.
Ascended.
So
I
when
should have said Ascended Saiyan. I'm sorry.
yeah, send it
Don't
saying.
revoke my nerd card, please.
I mean, who gives a fuck at this point?
Yeah.
But it's like that's what I'm trying to do. So I just started, so it's not like a major change in me. I only gained like 10 pounds or whatever. Um, but yeah, I haven't even started doing my protein yet. I just been doing creatine for the last month. Um, and I also noticed like other stuff, like I'm more focused and everything like that, and everything. Um, so like working out for about 4 or 5 months, it's helping me out. But it is making me like I started doing the heavy lifting, like
Mm.
adding like 30 pounds to my normal lift and stuff like that. Cause I'm like, I'm really pushing myself. So it's just like, it's been draining the fuck out of me. I'm just explaining to y'all why I haven't been playing video games like that lately. Um,
It's like
so
it's like you have to like you're it's just like a confession right now.
yeah, no, but I mean, it's fun. Like I play these video games, and I'm like, man, I want the physique of that person or whatever the case may be. I mean, that was actually like my driving motivation. Like I play video games, and I play anime, and I see these guys with these like physiques that I really want or whatever, and I'm like, man, like, and I've always wanted that, and it's like, oh, you gotta put in the work for that. And on top of that, like my little brother, he's 32. He was overweight and now he's in like the best shape of his life. He's been overweight his entire life, and now
Mhm.
he went down from he. I'm 5'7". He was 5'5" and like 260 or something like that. He
Wow.
dropped all the way down to 175.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's like built now.
That's
Like he has
awesome.
defined muscles and stuff. But I mean, he was having health issues. He was getting gout and shit like that, and all that bullshit. So, um, yeah, I mean, obviously, like my wife, she's working out. She's been working out. She's a pole dancing instructor, and she weighs. I'm not gonna reveal her weight or whatever,
Yeah.
but let's just say she lost about
Yeah.
50 to 60 pounds,
Okay. Yeah.
and everything of that nature. So it's just like, um, yeah, everybody's like working out around me and stuff like that, and I want to be more active and everything like that. And I mean, I hike and stuff, and I shoot, but I mean, I want to start shooting competitively too. And another driving component of that is I have to have some muscles to control, certain to do certain maneuvers and just to control the rise of recoil and everything of that nature. So I am
Mhm.
trying to get out the house more. So that's why I've been playing video games less, and I've been trying to do it more on the weekends as well. But I do been trying to come home and I've been trying to play like my because I've been playing a couple games. I play like I've been what I've actually been doing. I've been backlogging like a lot of older games, like from
Yeah.
like 2010 and stuff like that, bro. I'm playing
Mm.
like Splinter Cell Conviction right now.
Okay.
Um, and I remember this being like the worst Splinter Cell. People were fucking hated this Splinter Cell, but it's something amazing about being away from a game in the franchise for like so many years where you're like, oh, I
Mhm.
see why they were trying to modernize this or whatever. But then you go back to the old Splinter Cell, you could do a lot more. The sandbox is a lot more. This Splinter Cell convention is a lot more straightforward in the way it's doing stuff right now.
Yeah.
At least for the early part of it, or whatever. So I am playing that, and then I'm playing like I played Devil May Cry 3, but I'm playing it on PC and I modded the fuck out of it to where it has the style switcher because on Devil May Cry 3 you can only pick one style every mission and two weapons. But on
Yeah.
style switcher you can have all four styles and you can have up to 4 to 5 weapons on you at one time. So I have been playing that. I tried to get into Bayonetta 3 again. I tried to beat it. I don't know, something about this game. It's just like it has a weird ebb and flow to it. Um and I'm not really jiving with it. It's not as bad as Astral Chain. Astral Chain was just like I was just like, oh my god, I cannot do this. Uh, but yeah,
Mhm.
the game's okay. But That's pretty. But the only thing I've actively been playing, I actually been feeling like when you and Brian were talking about playing Baldur's Gate, I was like, yeah, that maybe because I really want to play something like not narrative driven, but like I want to interact with other people and stuff like that. Kind of like
Mm,
grind. I just want to have a grind mindset that makes any sense because I'm like grinding it out in real life with like my
yeah.
gains and stuff like that. So I kind of want to match my mentality with uh my gaming or whatever. And like the reason I'm playing Devil May Cry and like Bayonetta is because I can get reps in or like I can go into the practice tool and like really practice on like the combos I want to do and then kind of carry out those combos and like record them and stuff like that
Mm,
and then make a little
hmm.
montage. But I have to do reps to do that because it's not something you can just, go in and do or whatever. So I think that's why my mind is gravitating towards those games instead of like metaphor when I was like, and I was in a laid back space and I was like, I really want to play something narrative driven, or I was playing Dragon Age. I was like, I really want to play something narrative driven or whatever. Um, and I was more so coasting with my workouts where I was like kind of doing the same weights every week and just getting back into the ease of things. But now I'm trying to like advance, and that really doesn't match like like that it really doesn't match my play style right now. And I was like, man, maybe I was actually considering like either getting on Turtle WoW, or jumping back into Final Fantasy and just like
Yeah,
grinding it out in Final
there's your
Fantasy.
grind mindset right there, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you want to grind, bro? I got some. There's some Japanese grind games I can introduce you to. You'll want to fucking kill yourself by the time you're done, but
Yeah, I actually do have a Atelier Rising 3. I was like, man, maybe I should
I mean, that's not what I'm talking about. That's a good game. I'm there's dude. Um, what's the game called? It's called. I think it's Cross. Oh my god, what is it called? PS3. What is that game? Cross Edge, yeah. Yeah, you want to grind, baby? Cross Edge is your fucking game, bro. Oh my god, this game's fucking trash, man. Oh my god, what a piece of shit video game. I fucking hated this game, bro. Um, yeah, so no, Turtle would be fine. Turtle WoW or yeah, Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy though, if you're looking to grind by like action, Final Fantasy's not your game, right? Like you're gonna
Yeah.
because that's not you're not killing anything really. Like it's just you're just like watching story and getting experience for it. It's if you want to, WoW would be the better game to play where you're actually like killing mobs and running around and shit. Doing real
Okay.
stuff. So
Okay. Yeah, I might just get into WoW then. Um because yeah, I'm just looking to do that or whatever. Grind. I'm in a grind mindset right now, and I foresee for the next like year I'm going to be in there. But the thing is, like, even if I get out of the grind mindset as far as video games wise, I'm just going to
yeah,
switch back to narrative. And I actually think Metaphor is the best of both worlds because I can grind in that game too. It may suck,
yeah.
but I can grind in that game.
Oh my
And
god, it would be horrible. Oh
yeah,
yeah,
so I actually do want to get back into that game because I'm like, man, like I left off at a good spot, but I really do like the narrative and metaphor. So that is my next game to like just fucking buckle down and play. So that might actually
yeah,
just be my grind to just fucking finish
yeah,
that game. Um, so yeah, but that's pretty much trying to give y'all the mindset I'm in right now. Like I'm just really trying to like up my level, um, and everything like that. As far as like almost every plateau, like work wise, physically wise, and like even video game wise. So yeah, that's
yeah.
where I'm at right now.
Okay, so Cross Edge. You want Reddit's opinion on this game?
It's probably the best game ever.
No,
Oh,
that's how bad this game is. Uh, Cross Edge is probably the grindiest, most unrewarding crossover game I've ever played. Couple that with the very obscure requirements to get the true ending. It's passable given who developed it, but I wasn't impressed by it. I don't think there's a soul alive who would say it's their favorite game. It's a shame since Bandai Namco's inclusion should have harbored more effort from the developers. Budget RPG with annoying mechanics, relying on past namesakes to sell pretty much. Voice acting was good though. Terrible next person. Terrible writing, embarrassing anime bullocks, obscure systems on obscure systems with almost no explanation, and it feels like it does everything possible to make the game difficult to enjoy. Underneath it all is a fun combat system, but frankly, it's not worth the effort to try to get to the good stuff. And I would 100% agree with both of those people. That is exactly what Cross Edge is. It's got a very interesting gameplay and progression system, but bro, it just like to have any fun with it, you have to grind like a lot. And every area you have to grind. Like every single area you go to, you end up having to grind. And it's just like, man, it you'll go to the next area and your party's dog shit, you know, and it's like the area before you'd been grinding for a while and you got to the point where you just like wreck the enemies or whatever, and then yeah, you get to the next area and like your party's like trash again, you're barely killing anything. It's like it's fucking ugh, it's a bad game. So um all right, is it weird that there's some part of me that kind of wants to play it though for some reason?
Because you're a glutton for punishment.
I am a glutton for punishment. What's wrong with me? I should just go play Turtle Wall. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's get into the news. We don't have a lot of stories this week, but couple interesting ones. First is some stuff with the Switch 2. So there have been a ton of accessory leaks for the Switch 2 that have happened in the last week or two. And then there was a report from the Verge that spoke with a leaker named Next Handheld. And this person showed the Verge enough stuff for them to think this person is legitimate and actually like vouch for them and what they're leaking. So they showed the Verge 2 photos of a possible Switch 2 dock, one of the inside of a possible controller rail. This had like certification logos and some copper contacts exposed. And then they showed a metal U-shaped kickstand as well. The dock featured the same logo as the Switch, but with a 2 instead. So confirming potentially that that's the name of the console. And then this person said that it would also be revealed in January. And then there was other stuff as well. Switch 2 accessories. There were some Switch 2 accessories made available via Chinese sellers at the beginning of this month. And there was a trailer from a accessories manufacturer named Satisfy. Showed blurry outlines of the console as well. So I did some other digging on this and saw that there's some rumors going around that a lot of these manufacturers, these accessory manufacturers, are actually really mad at Nintendo right now because they're not releasing the fucking console and they're not even announcing it. Like, so basically they're holding up their business, their ability to make money, because they have to hold all this shit until Nintendo's ready. Okay. Which makes a lot of sense, actually. So like, I would be pissed if I was a company and I made this shit like 6 months to a year ago and I'm just sitting on it. And dude, I expected that revenue this year and I'm not going to get it now. It's like, you know, that impacts people, like companies' projections for sales, which then impacts stockholders, shareholders and shit. It's like that's real shit. And I can totally understand companies being mad at Nintendo for this. So it seems like Nintendo has like dug their own grave a little bit with some of their suppliers. You know, this I'm guessing a lot of this stuff is true based on the volume of it that we're starting to see. So I mean, Montrell, what do you make of all this? Accessories leaking, Switch 2 is the name. You think that makes sense?
Well, yeah, I mean that makes sense. Let's get that part out the way. I'm glad they're just going with the simple ass name like Switch 2. We don't need Wii U or any of that shit. It's good for parents. They want to go in. My kid has a Switch. Oh, yeah. Well, here's a Switch 2. And it's like, okay, cool. I want that. Like PlayStation has the same model. I don't know why everyone's trying to reinvent the wheel. Like with Xbox, it was Xbox 360, which I actually thought was a cool name. But then they went Xbox One and then Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S. And it's like, what are y'all fucking doing? Like, PlayStation has the best model. It's numbered. PlayStation 1, 2, 3. Like, boom. Nintendo, I think they had cool names. Like they went from like the NES to the Super NES, which is really cool, I thought. To the 64, Nintendo 64, which is actually a cool name. And the logo
was cool.
GameCube was cool. And I'll even
the Wii.
I mean, I'll even say the Wii was okay.
Yeah.
Like, but the Wii U should have been called the Wii 2 or Super Wii or something like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, not Wii U. That I don't even know what the U stands for. What does that stand for?
I don't remember. It was something dumb, but nobody
Yeah,
got it. So
no, exactly.
yeah,
Um,
which I think Nintendo's learning their lesson here, right?
yeah,
Calling it the Switch something, even if they called it the Super Switch, I'm not sure. Just go with the number, man. Just call it Switch 2.
yeah.
It's like that tells everybody what it is. It's a sequel to the Switch.
Yeah, I mean, even the Game Boys, right? They had a simple sequence. It was Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advanced, and then when they switched the platform, which made sense because it no longer was a Game Boy, then the Nintendo DS and the Nintendo 3DS, which okay, we can let you get away with that because it's
Or the
like,
new the new
now
3DS.
that was stupid. That was stupid. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so um I would have preferred the 3DSU over the new 3DS because that's stupid. Um so yeah, I'm glad they're going with the simple model. I did see that there was another article linked to this article saying like, hopes fade for the Switch 2 to be released in early 2025. So it looks like it won't be released before April, which adds much weight to what you just said about the manufacturers being fucking pissed because it's like, what the fuck you mean it's not being released in
Well, it's
April,
it's
bro?
been ready, dude. The Switch 2's been ready for a while. This has been rumored for a while that
So
Nintendo's
what
just
are they
sitting on this
scared
thing.
of?
They're waiting for a specific release window, I think, and I don't really understand what that is. Like maybe they were trying to avoid Sony with the Pro potentially. I'm
But the
not
Pro is not.
sure.
I don't think the Pros is competition.
It's not really competition. Like there's no Steam Deck release that's happening or anything like that. So I don't really know. I think they're waiting for games, I guess, maybe is the idea is they want to have a killer lineup of launch games,
My thing is
potentially.
this:
But
what they maybe it doesn't do this, and maybe that's why they are waiting for the lineup of games. But like, your game should be backwards compatible, but um also kind of upscale it because people really want like, there are people actually talking about like Astral Chain, right? They're in the same boat as me. Like, I would love this game, and it is a 30 frames per second. That's like a major turnoff for me. That game's a major turnoff for me because it is a 30 frame per second action game. I don't like it because it's a fast paced action game,
yeah.
and from Platinum, and it's only 30 frames. So I mean, I don't know, man. I think they just need to do it in April, bro. Just do it in
Yeah.
April. Fuck
Yeah.
it. And I think that's quarter one, right? April's quarter one or quarter two.
I don't know how Nintendo does their fiscals. So
Okay.
if it's I think most game companies do April to April, like April to end of March. So I think Nintendo and Sony both do that. I don't think they follow the calendar year for
Oh,
fiscals.
okay. It does say, however, developers have been told not to expect to switch to at the current uh, fiscal year, which ends 31st of March in
Yeah.
2025.
Okay.
So April
Okay.
is the first month of the fiscal
That just
year.
seems so long. That seems so far away, dude. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like it's because remember my prediction was that they're gonna announce it in January, which sounds like that might be correct. But I was thinking they were gonna launch it the same day on the anniversary of the 7th anniversary of the Switch. You know,
That would have made more
um,
sense. I mean, that would have been
it
cooler.
doesn't look like they're doing that though. So which I just like because that would have made sense to me. Maybe that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for games and they want to release it on the anniversary of the first device. And that would have been cool. It could have been a huge blowout for them to celebrate, and whatever, and have a huge like marketing campaign around that. Um, but I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I guess. I mean, maybe the Xenoblade Chronicles X release date, at the end of March, is actually the opposite of what we thought. Because I took that as like indication that we are getting the console around that, but maybe it's an indication that we're not getting it until after that, and that's like the last game they're going to try to use to like elongate the Switch a little bit.
Oh
Um,
my god.
the other thing I think maybe they're doing too is they seem very cognizant of the PS2 sales record, and it kind of feels like they want that, for the Switch. Like they want to eclipse the PS2, which I'm not sure they're going to get to anymore. By the way, since Sony apparently found 5 million PS2s lying around because they've upped the sales number to 160 million, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
Yeah,
uh, yeah, they're not going to eclipse that. Like,
because Switch
just
right now is at 146 million, so that's
yeah,
a
just
lot. It
I
would have
mean,
to sell.
just let the dick measuring contest go. Like,
Yeah,
you're a couple inches short, bro. It's okay. She still loves you. You know, like just let it go, man.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, because I just want the Switch 2 at this point, man. Just give me the Switch 2.
I don't even
Oh,
care, dude. I haven't played my Switch since Fire Emblem Engage last year.
damn.
Dude, I'm serious. I literally haven't even like turned it on. Um, so I'm like whatever, dude. I don't. I like I am kind of getting annoyed that Monolith Soft is exclusive to Nintendo because I like have to own their hardware to play their fucking games, and that's like the only series they make anymore that I really actually care that much about. You know, it's a little frustrating actually, but is what it is. So it also puts us in a weird position, by the way, because I was hoping Switch 2 would be ready for X, and if it's not, that means we need to play X on on the original Switch, which I don't know how that's gonna play, bro. you know, because that's a huge open world game. So I'm sure they'll figure it out, and it'll be fine, and it'll feel good. But I want it to be like 60 frames though, which I don't think it will be. So, all right. Anything else on this, Montreal?
Yeah, no, that's it.
All right, let's move on. All right. Last week after the Game Awards, we talked about Hideki Kamiya forming a new studio that is making the Okami sequel for Capcom, and that studio is called Clovers Inc., which is a studio they are founding in reference to the old Clover Studio, which made the original Okami, as well as the Beautiful Joe games, um, as well. And they've been gone for a long time. They haven't been around for over, I think it's like decade and a half. They've been gone. So, but Kamiya did an interview with Video Games Chronicle, um, and um, he said a number of things that were interesting here. So I'm just going to read some quotes here. Quote, Clover Studio is a milestone in my career that I can't overlook. It was a company founded by former members of Capcom's Division 4, built on the creative philosophy that Mr. Mikami, who's the co founder and the Resident Evil creator, valued deeply. I'm still proud to have them as part of that team. Though many years have passed since Clover Studio ceased to exist, the creative principles we held at the time remains just as important to me today. Number 4, represented by the four-leaf clover in the clover's emblem, holds a special meaning for me personally. It is the same important number as the 4 from Capcom's Division 4 during my time there. So the name Clover Studio isn't about looking back with nostalgia. It's about staying true to the values I've carried throughout my 30-year career. Those values have always been my foundation, and they'll continue to guide me. Um, I was lead game designer for a certain project that Kamiya was directing. So he's talking about why he left Platinum. Conversations started after I heard that he was going to quit Platinum. So it was last year in July. Oh, sorry, this is Koyama, who's they're creating the studio together. This is Koyama speaking, so this is his quote. And then back to Kamiya. I announced my decision to quit at that time, but I didn't actually leave the company until October. In the months leading up to my departure, I spent time wrapping things up and using my remaining leave. During this period, Koyama approached me. We were working on a certain project, and Koyama was also on that team. He asked me, now that you're quitting, what are you going to do moving forward? I wasn't exactly sure, so he said, if you're not sure, then why don't we start a game development company together? It was quite sudden, so I didn't really think about it seriously. But then others in Platinum came up to me and said, I'm really sad that you're quitting, and there were more people than I expected. So I thought maybe I should continue in some capacity, like doing freelance or working by myself making games. But then, since people were reaching out to me to work together, I felt that I should explore ways to create an environment where I could work with them. That's when I started to consider Koyama's proposal seriously. End quote. So the article, describes that he after he quit Platinum, he couldn't work for a year. So Koyama actually did all the work to get the studio ready, basically. Like it's in Kamiya's contract, which is just fairly common in games for these kind of big name creators. They usually have like a non-compete clause in their contracts.
Yeah.
Um, and so Kamiya, continuing here, quote, I'm a game developer, but my skill is making games. I can't run a company. It's not that I randomly picked Koyama because no other people approached me. I had worked with Koyama previously, and I knew that he was good at managing, working with money, and managing people. I knew from experience that he could do it. Um, let's see. And then continuing here, there were certain people who wouldn't have come to my company if I were president. I only think about making games. I don't know if the company is profitable or if the management is going well. In fact, many of the members who have joined us likely wouldn't have if I were president of the company. They understand that my strengths lie in game development, not in handling the business and management aspects. Some people said that Koyama's assumption of the presidency convinced them to join us. Just to clarify my position, I'm the studio head and chief game designer. That means I'll direct some games and oversee all development. I'll also assess the quality and whether or not the game is interesting and offer advice to the different teams. That's the skill set I want to bring to the table. End quote. So that's for the most part. There's some more here, and I may read that after we discuss this a little bit. But yeah, there's 25 people at the studio right now. They want to expand to maybe somewhere around 70, I think they said, which is what the old Clover Studio size was. But they don't really want to get much bigger than that. They're not looking to become huge, but they want to be able to focus on making games. So if they need development talent to help them, and they don't feel like they want to hire for it, they may use outside help, third parties to do some of that. So Montreal, it's a very interesting interview with Kamiya here. What are your thoughts?
Uh, it makes sense that he always seemed like the type that like really doesn't like to manage people. He just wants to play video games, and I actually respect his honesty in that
Yeah,
regard. I don't think every game developer, just because you're a legendary game developer, doesn't mean you're also a legendary management person. You have to hire people for that and
right.
everything of that nature. So I actually like that move. Um, I missed the part of like why he actually left though, or because I read a lot of the interview, but I don't know if it was that part that you read, so I don't want to get ahead.
So okay, I think I made a mistake when I sent you guys an article.
Mhm.
Because I was looking when I was looking for articles for this today. Um, I found this article, this interview. I think the one I sent you guys was actually from last year. Um, did I? Let's see.
Well, it was one I sent to you guys as well in the chat.
Okay. Well, there was one from IGN from last year that I found. Dude, he talked about leaving Platinum last year when he left, when he was leaving. And he said that basically that like he didn't like the direction the company was going, and that he felt like his creativity was going to be sapped if he continued to work at Platinum in the direction they were going.
Yeah,
Where it was becoming much more about how much money they made, the profitability of games, that kind of
yeah.
stuff,
So,
and he's not
so
interested in any of that.
yeah, that's the one I don't know if that's the one you were referencing, but I sent one from Resetera.
Oh, Reset
Uh,
Era, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Resetera. So I sent one from them, and yeah, in that one, that's where he actually expands upon that of like why he left and everything of that nature, and it was he didn't really care about the company position or the profits and everything like that. He just wanted to do stuff, and he did have a tidbit in there where he was talking about how they wanted to push like ever since the 10 cent like acquisition and everything like that. They were trying to push like microtransactions and stuff and
Yep.
or live service elements into the game, which I think is a big reason why we got Babylon's Fall,
Yep.
and everything of that nature. And he really didn't want to do that. And yeah, and even in that article, he says the same thing where it killed like his artistic integrity, and he ended up like leaving Platinum because of that shit.
Yep. Um. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to. I'm not sure where this Reset Era information came from because this isn't part of the VGC like interview. Um. Necessarily.
So it came from the entire thing came from news.defamico or defamicogamer.japan or
Okay.
dot
So that might have
.jp.
been a Japanese interview he
Yeah,
did,
and they translated the whole thing.
translated. Okay. Um. But yeah, I think the gist of it was he hasn't felt, or he wasn't feeling the direction that Platinum was going. Didn't feel like he could express his creativity the way he wanted to with the games they were trying to make, or the games that um the president wanted to make, which were more live service oriented, and he doesn't want to make those kind of games. So which makes sense. Going back to the point though, real quick about the him, not being president.
Hmm.
I do think this is something that we as a society need to, like all societies need to really like contend with more. Is that just because somebody's good at something, like really good at something, making games or whatever, what have you, they're an excellent engineer, or they're a great coder or something, or artist or something. That doesn't necessarily mean that, like, I don't understand why the only advancement that these people can have is becoming a leader, like an executive leader, like a director or VP or something. It's like not everybody is suited to those kind of roles in a company. And I think it's, unfortunately, we just live in a culture like that's how you make more money though, is you go into those roles. um and it's like I feel like, unfortunately, it doesn't result in the best people being in those positions a lot of the time. And I respect somebody like Kamiya recognizing his own faults, and like, or not faults necessarily, but like, not, he knows what he's strong at, and he doesn't want to be in a position where he's not using those strengths and he's doing things that he's not very good at. He doesn't feel like he's very good at. I think that takes a lot of self reflection and willpower, frankly. I'm sure he's getting paid. He's gonna make a ton of money at this venture. I'm sure of that. So it's not really a concern from that perspective. But it is meaningful though to step down from a leadership position, knowing that you're not necessarily the right person for it. I think that as much as we talk about him being an asshole, and he would like block people for the pettiest shit in the world, um that does show a lack of ego though, is that he's willing to put that aside so that the company's in the best position to succeed, you know
Yeah, I think he's
um
one of those people where he's just like, I don't know if you met people like that, but like when they're in their work environment and like you're their colleague, they respect the fuck out of you, but like
yeah,
everyone else, they just don't fucking care about or whatever. And there are people like that, to where they can be really respectable inside the workplace or when you're working with a colleague or something of that nature. But outside of it, they just don't really care about the consumer or they don't really care about this and that and the third.
right,
I think a lot of artists are like that in general. That's why I don't really, I mean, I talk a lot of shit about them, but like I think artists are like that in general because
yeah,
um that's where their mindset goes. That's what makes them kind of great. Like, you know, you do this, it does make a living. I think so. What I think about artists and especially video game designers and musicians, uh, as well, um, all of them hate because you hear about it in like music where they get these bad deals and stuff like that, right? And like, oh, like they're taking all my money and all this stuff like that. And even like video game music, we see it happen all the fucking time where like, the artist money gets taken by the company or whatever. And I think that's just because artists are bad at business, but they're good at making shit. They're good at making profitable shit, but they don't think about the profits at all. And I think he's a prime example of that. I think a lot of developers are a prime example of that. If like look at us for instance, even though I wouldn't say podcasting is an art form, but if like 20 people enjoy our art, like we're like, oh my god, those 20 people enjoy our art or enjoy
yeah,
our entertainment, our media or whatever. And I think like that's cool for a lot of people. To have your stuff be enjoyed by millions of people, I think that is more of the monetary value that he likes or that artists in general love more than an actual physical dollar. And the problem is, unfortunately, a lot of us think about stuff in the physical dollar thing. And like obviously, like you think about old timey classical art things and stuff like that, like Michelangelo and everything of that nature.
mm, mhm,
They were paid by like the church or whatever, right? They were commissioned by the church to paint this, and they were like, "All right, give me the money and give me like 5 years and leave me the fuck alone or whatever the fuck, you know." And they leave
yeah,
them the fuck alone, and then once they finally finish this beautiful piece of artwork or whatever, it's being the the faces that walk into the cathedrals and art museums or whatever the fate like that is like that's why the artists at like art museums they stand there sometime next to it next to their art piece because they want to see people be like wow like this is a really cool thing or whatever. So yeah, like I say all that to say like I think artists egos are in a different headspace and a different mindset because probably like once you're outside of that environment you don't want to you don't really care about that, you don't really care about this and that and the third. And video games is in a very unique situation to where like you can get critiqued on people. You can get critiqued on video games from people who don't even necessarily like that video game or know how to play that genre of video games. Like if I'm an action game player, which I play a lot of action games, right? Why would I go play Civ 7 or 6 or whatever and be like, ugh, there's no action in this game. 1 out of 10, you know, and it's just like, well, Montrell, you're not a fucking strategy player type player, you know, a resource intensive player like that. You don't play those type of games like that outside of like StarCraft or something like that. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense or whatever. So, um, I just think Kamiya like recognizing that he's not presidential material is fine. I think actually the regular business sector can learn a lot from that just because you're like especially IT just because you're like not good at or just because you're super good at like networking doesn't mean you need to be a director of networking, you know,
Exactly.
like you
Yeah,
know
100%.
uh,
Yeah.
um and maybe we get more people who are suited for those roles of like who understands it but not necessarily does it. um the problem is I think is we get people who are like diametrically opposed to each other, so like we do get the suits in the top of like the gaming industry who make these really poor decisions as like microtransactions. Oh, how about you break this really cool game up into 3 games and we sell it, you
Yeah.
know, cool guy 1, cool guy 2, cool guy 3. And it's like actually it's 1 game. Like we can break it up into DLC. And it's
Yeah.
like instead of getting like someone like Sean Lathan or yeah, Sean am I saying his
John
last name
Layden.
right? Sean Layton.
Layden. Yeah.
Sean Layton, who understands like I was a developer, but I also understand how to do the business side of it or whatever the case
Right.
may be.
Right.
And there are
Right.
people like that, you know?
Yeah, and that's rare though, you know. It's like I think it's much more common where you have the leaders who don't know what their people do necessarily, like they don't have the technical expertise or the understanding of what they're managing. And that's if you're that kind of manager, that can be okay. That is fine sometimes. It's just if you're going to be in that position though, you have to listen to the people that work for you, you know. Because they're the true experts. So if you're going to make a decision, like you need to understand um all the factors that go into that, and sometimes that means you're going to have to listen to people explain things to you, you know. And some people just don't want, like, those are bad managers or bad directors, bad leaders in general. Like they don't want to listen to people. You know, they think they
Yeah.
have everything figured out when they have no fucking clue what they're talking about, you know, necessarily. It's like that's a very bad place to be. Um but Kamiya is like in the opposite space, right? He understands how to make a video game, right? But
Yeah.
he doesn't understand how to lead, you know. And that can be a problem as well, you know.
Yeah.
So and him recognizing that I think is great, right? It's
Yeah.
good for the studio. So um last question, Montreal. Do you think Platinum's got a future? Platinum Games.
Um yeah, because he's not the only good person at that studio. He's
I
not.
know, but they just poached a bunch of people with this.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Um, maybe not, man. Maybe not. I don't know. I mean, that was their bread and butter. Um, yeah, maybe not. Maybe that's why they were like looking to sell a couple months ago, a year ago, whatever.
Mm,
They just really want to sell everything.
right.
I think they might get bought out by like Nintendo or something like that, or they might split their IPs and sell their
I think so.
IPs off. Yeah,
What do they have though? I mean, it's Bayonetta, obviously, but like, what else do they have?
that's a good question. I don't really know. I mean,
Like the Wonderful 101?
yeah, they have that IP.
Not That's not worth much. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
They're in a tough spot. We'll see. I don't want them to go away, but you know, this hemorrhaging of talent is not going to be good for them long term. So, all right, Montreal, let's move on to our final story. This one's a little bit more, I don't know, lighthearted. Probably not. So there's an issue. This has been going on for a long time. Montreal and I talked about it before, but this is a recent thing though that's kind of cropping back up. Is that this is from Push Square. This is the headline. PS5, PS4 shovelware isn't even trying to hide its plagiarism anymore. And there was a game on here that they talked about called Forest Ranger Life Simulator, and it has a picture of Joel, literally Joel from The Last of Us, in front of a what looks like some kind of cabin home, with a gun, like a shotgun or a rifle or something. No, it looks like a shotgun. And yeah, then this is not the only game that's done this. There's been some other games called, what was the other one that they mentioned that was hilarious? Let's see. It was some like Grand Theft Auto ripoff or something.
Grand larceny.
Yeah, it was something that like that. It was like Grand Larceny 6 or something. It literally had a 6 in the name though. To like trick people into thinking it was GTA.
That's crazy.
Or something like that. So this is popping back up, and some news outlets are picking it up, and I'm kind of glad they are, because we've talked about this before, and this is like a real issue that I think Sony needs to deal with. DJ mentioned, this doesn't really happen on Xbox and Nintendo. I will say, when you mentioned like Nintendo is not necessarily as clean as we think, I think you're right. I'm not on there very much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really look at the eShop, but I do know they've kind of had a huge influx of like lower end games in recent years. They're kind of letting
Yeah.
a lot more kind of through the goalie than they used to. But
Yeah.
I think it's the worst on PlayStation though. Like PlayStation just has this like some of these like dog shit games, bro. Like just trash, that's trying to trick people into spending like $2 or whatever. So I don't know, Montreal. You gonna play Forest Ranger Life Simulator?
Force Ranger Life. No.
Oh
I'm right.
god.
I actually logged onto my Xbox, or not my Xbox. But
Actually, you
like,
can't play it. That's right. Sony took it down after these stories published.
yeah, but like I actually before this story was published, like I went onto my PlayStation store, and yeah, like it was like Hentai Love Simulator, and I'm like, what the fuck? I thought they got rid of all this shit on the PlayStation Network or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and there was some other games, like upcoming games or whatever. And yeah, it's all just like AI driven stuff like that. But I think on the eShop is a little bit more. I think those are like indie games, like actual indie developed games, but they are
Yeah.
on the lower end of the spectrum. Um, um, because some of them are on Steam, and I see them on Steam. Um, and even though like Steam's not the best like example, but like I do see some of them on Steam or whatever. That are like the lower end indie games. I didn't know it was actually this bad on PlayStation, because I don't when I go to the PlayStation store, I usually I know what I'm looking for, and then I get that or whatever the case may be. Um, but it just recently started like popping up with the AI games and the upcoming games or whatever, and you see it just like a ton of them on there, and especially like my friend, because he sends me like upcoming games that look cool and everything like that. It was like 4 or 5 survivor games that look really cool, but they didn't have a release date, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
who are making these games? Like, this game looks cool, but like, I never heard like anyone talking about this game, and it's just really weird. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think they do need to tighten ship and everything like that. I think the over reliance on AI is actually becoming a problem, or it's been a problem, but like now since AI has advanced in so much in like 2 years. I think it's
Yeah.
becoming a huge problem. I think it's going to be a really big problem like 3 or 4 years from now. And we need to like tighten it up like right now. Like there's a story in the UK where like Open AI is fighting a case in UK, because UK is like, you know you guys are stealing copyrighted material, and they're like, our business model depends on it. You can't do this with us or whatever. But it's just
Yeah.
like, yes, like shut up, bro. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I
you,
I
you
understand
you
the
can't
use of
steal shit from
AI.
people. That's not like a like I don't
Yeah, you're right. I understand the use of AI, like from a like logical sense. Like, oh, this could be our Jarvis, or this could be our Star Trek computer. When we're like, hey, what's this? And then it tells us that or whatever. Like,
yeah.
um, but I think the way we're using it now is just it's not there. I think it requires too much resources, and it's everything that touches AI, or everything AI touches rather, like the quality just goes all the way down. And obviously like the PlayStation Store is another victim of it, in my opinion.
Yeah. The game I was talking about is called Grand Taking Ages 6. So GTA 6. If you go search that on Google, dude, the title image for the game is hilarious. It just looks like somebody just copied
It's
Grand
called
Theft
a
Auto's
what? Grand what?
Grand Taking Ages 6.
Grand Taking Ages 6. Oh my god,
Yeah.
it looks like, yeah,
Yeah.
even the cover art looks like Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, there's no gameplay though. I don't think there's any gameplay for the game. So it's I don't know. This is just it's just an example of like Sony, dude, there's got to be some amount of quality control for this stuff. And obviously Sony does quality control to some degree, but I can't believe like I just don't understand how these kind of things slip by the goalie with them.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. I mean, it's happening everywhere though. It's just
Yeah.
it's getting to a point where some people can't recognize, even companies can't recognize when it's real or when it's not real and stuff like that. So um
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just think we should like slow the brakes on all this bullshit for right now.
There's too many games. Like there's got to be like stricter entry criteria to like
Yeah.
submit a game to a PlayStation or Nintendo or Xbox for sale or Steam. And it's like it's crazy that this game even like got on the PlayStation Store at all, in some degree. I don't think it actually was um I don't think it was actually like for sale at all, but it had a store page for a minute. So I don't know. It's crazy. I'd recommend people look it up. It's hilarious. The image the image they use. It's fucking funny as hell.
Yeah.
Um
Grand Taking Ages. Like
yeah.
ages 6. And it looks just like the font is just like Grand Theft Auto and
Yep.
everything. It's actually crazy.
Yeah, it just kind of looks like AI generated shit.
Yeah.
Um so all right, Montreal, that's all we got this week. Um like we said, quicker episode today. Not a ton of news. Things are slowing down, obviously, after the Game Awards. So next 2 weeks, are gonna be. I don't know what order we're gonna do this in. I think we usually do this where we do a preview of next year, games we're looking forward to in 2025, and then we talk about our games of the year for 2024. I think we usually like to do the games of the year second to give us a little more time to play stuff. So unless you want to do that the opposite, that's probably what we'll do. So those will probably be our next 2 episodes, next 2 weeks. We will have an episode next week, after Christmas and after New Year's. So, but yeah, Montreal. Anything else you want to talk about today before we go?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right. Well, if you guys like this episode, please like the show, subscribe to the show, and review the show in whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please subscribe to us on YouTube. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage for Montreal. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at Thundernut01, and the show is at the Player's Take. If you'd like to send us questions, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email, playerstake01@gmail.com. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week. Bye.